manage to watch anything whilst you were away? Were you watching telenovelas over in Spain?
No, what they tend to watch, my brother-in-law tends to watch with his partner is, well, when they have the TV on, it's usually these home makeover programs that some channels just have it in a loop, and it's really weird because like these programs are obviously made with an hour of television in mind with adverts, but the way that they do it in Spanish TV, and I think they do it in some other countries as well, is they just show the program, they have all the adverts in it, but then when the program finishes, they just start the next one. So you can get a program starting at 3 minutes to the hour or 25 minutes to the hour. And they just show like dozens and dozens of these ones. And the one that I seemed to watch was like a sort of love it or list it type program. It's a Canadian one, and it was a man and a woman. The woman was doing the refurbs of the house in order for them to love their house, and the man was obviously taking them around properties. But it's like, you know, hundreds of thousands. These people, it's like just people showing off how much money they got. You know, what's your budget for a renovate? No, that'll be $250,000. Thanks very much. That kind of thing. They're going, away, fuck off. You know, so. And then they would be buying somewhere, there'd be like 1.2 million and all that. But when we look to the exchange rate, I think the programs are maybe about 4 or 5 years old, but even then the exchange rate meant that the houses were kind of like the same sort of prices, like 350,000, 400,000 like here, and for that you're not getting that much a house. But these things are, you know, it's like, you know, they need a butler's pantry and a boot room and all this, and you're going, you know, they're living in a state, you know, they're just living in a normal sort of house in the state. Big, obviously big houses, but it's not in the country, and they don't have staff and all that, and all, you know, all this kind of thing, and they create false drama and all this sort of stuff. But it was just, it's kind of thing you kind of like having on in the background, I suppose, more than anything else. But apart from that, on your recommendation, I watched Infinity Pool. Yes. So yeah, thank you very much for that. Well, I say thank you.
I know it's not. I know probably thank you is the wrong. Yeah. Did you like it, or was it?
It was very good. I really get totally into it because it's so creepy, and it's you just don't have an idea of what's going on for like the first hour, just because the characters are all really stilted and they're obviously holding things back and all that, and obviously the writer's block thing as well, you know, all that to the start of it. Yeah, very, very good. Really enjoyed it. So yeah, it was a brilliant recommendation. I watched Gladiator 2 again, just because we were looking for something to watch when we were all sitting about one night, and brother-in-law had Gladiator 2, so we watched that again. Obviously there's a wee Fantastic Four
there is
in there with a couple of, well, 2 actors and one who turned down the role, so as well, so that was pretty good. I saw The Naked Gun as well, which
I've seen that's getting rave reviews. Yeah,
it's a Naked Gun film, so there's lots and lots of jokes. If you don't like a joke, there's another one that comes along about half a minute later. So it's relentless. Liam Neeson is really good because he plays it like Leslie Nielsen, totally straight. Yeah. Right down the line. There's no winking to camera or anything. He's playing it as if it's a serious drama. And Pamela Anderson is really, really good in it as well. She's the sort of the love interest, not the femme fatale. She's sort of involved in all the stuff that's going on. So yeah, loved it. And again, doesn't hang about. It's like less than 90 minutes long. So it's not going to be something that is going to outstay its welcome.
Yeah.
And it's just there's so many references back to previous films and the sort of the ideas of it, but yeah, the gag rate is just phenomenal. It's just absolutely brilliant, and it's one of these ones you probably need to watch it maybe at least the one to get all the gags that you missed because you were laughing at some of them as well. So yeah,
I do think the trailers looked great. I know a lot of people were on the fence about it, and then I started to see the reviews coming out, and I was like, no, I'm so glad, because I mean, this is so infantile, but even just that scene where he's like, I see you were put in prison for manslaughter must have been some joke. Like that really had me like in the trailer alone. I thought that was really good.
Yeah, that's one of the highlights. So yes, it's really good. And obviously the opening scene is extended from what you actually see in the trailer. And it's like the opening to The Dark Knight. It's the same sort of idea, blank job sort of thing. So it's like really tense, sort of Hans Zimmer type music and all this as well. So yeah, yes, very, very good. I watched Bring Her Back, the horror film from the 2 Australian directors, the guys that did talk to her. It's really creepy. It's creepy as fuck, I'm telling you. It's and it's really it's like tense and dark all the way through it. And I really enjoyed it, but you can tell that a lot of people would be really kind of put off by it. But there's not like a lot of gore. A lot of it's more psychological. But see, when it sort of hits some of these horror beats, some of the physical horror, you're going, oh my god, it's gross. And obviously it involves kids as well. So yeah.
Yeah, it has really divided my Final Girls group. I haven't seen it yet. Some people have absolutely loved it. Other people have gone just hardcore or hard pass, not for me sort of thing. So I'm intrigued that you've said it's very like creepy and unsettling, because I would prefer that to like out and out gore. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, there are elements of that, but for the majority of it, it's more about the atmosphere, the psychology of it, and everything as well. But yes, when it happens, and you're kind of going, ooh. Some real sort of. I won't even go into it because it would just spoil things, and you don't want to spoil.
I'm desperate to see it. Yeah.
The good bits in a horror film. I watched The Bad Guys 2, which is the animated sort of good guys and bad guys film, and that was good. It was all right. It was obviously aimed at kids, but it's just a fun film, and it's some really good performances, really good voice performances in it, and it was a decent story. So, yep, very pleasant way to spend a couple of hours. Telly-wise, I watched Murderbot on Apple.
Ooh, another wee Skarsgård, really
yeah, it was a wee Skarsgård double, and he actually plays quite a similar character to Infinity Pool. It's very, very detached. Obviously, he's a robot in this, but he's very detached, and it's basically a robot that has been reconditioned and becomes sentient while on a mission, on a survey mission. And a lot of it's voice, so it's internal monologue. So you're just hearing him actually. Well, he's saying one thing to the people he's supposed to be protecting, and at the same time he's like cursing and swearing and saying what the actual fuck and all this, because he's like, he knows exactly what's going on around him, and he just doesn't like it and all this sort of stuff, and he doesn't want to make eye contact with people and stuff like this.
I feel that deep in my soul.
Yeah. So I'm about 4 episodes into it. I think there's 6 episodes. I don't know if it's any more than that, but that's really good. That's definitely worth the watch because it's very funny, as well as sort of sci-fi sort of thing. So that's good. I started watching Ironheart as well, the Marvel one, which I've only seen the first episode of that and quite enjoyed it. It was fairly decent, good story. You don't need to have done too much homework because it gives you a wee sort of this is the background to it kind of idea, because in fact I'd watched something else that had I watched Civil War as well, which is referenced in iHeart because Tony Stark creates a whole foundation thing at the start of that to give people money for developing their ideas and all this, and this is one of the people who had that, and then she got kicked out of uni because she was like selling all her stuff and all her ideas and things like that to help pay for her own projects and things. So yeah, pretty decent. I'll keep watching it. It's some good people in it as well. I think is it Anthony Ramos? He's in it, and he's pretty good. I think it's him. Yes, I think it is. Yes. So yeah, it's pretty decent as well. I watched Bookish, the Mark Gatiss drama, which is on You and Drama. It's a 1950s set private investigator. He's called Book, and he has a shop called Books, and he sells books. But he also does sort of private investigation stuff on the side, and he has, which I haven't seen yet, a letter from Churchill. He just kind of like anytime he wants to go into a crime scene and one of the police and try and stop him, he just goes, I have a letter, and he just passes it. I go, yeah, a letter from Churchill. Okay, on you come in, So he's obviously had a past. He's done something during the war, and this is set just after it, and it's quite nice. It's like 2-parters. I think there's been 6 episodes, so it's like a 2-parter is a complete story on it, and it rattles along. So rather than the whole series, yeah. There's been a few dramas that do that. They just have it, so it's almost like feature length, the whole thing. you could probably show it as a feature-length drama as well. And it's quite cozy, and there's some light moments in it as well, and quite a nice wee ensemble cast and all that sort of. So yeah, it's pretty decent. We've watched 3 episodes of that, I think, at the moment, and I started a rewatch of The Night Manager, which is the last thing I watched.
Yeah.
Because it's coming back. There's a second season of The Night Manager, and I couldn't remember very much about it. And I actually realised I hadn't watched it all. I think I'd watched maybe about 3 episodes of it, like when it came out, maybe about 10 years ago, maybe longer. It's still on iPlayer, and I think it's on Prime as well. So I started watching that on iPlayer, and it's fantastic. It's so good. It's like Hugh Laurie, Tom Hiddleston, Elizabeth
Olivia
Debicki,
Colman.
and Olivia Colman as well. Yeah, so it's just total sort of top-notch cast, and it's really, really good. So I'll power my way through that over the next week or so, because I think it's meant to be like September, October.
I didn't realise there was a second season coming out at
all. No, I mean, it was so long after the first one. I think there was only 1 book, I think, with that character in it. It was a John le Carré novel, I think. So yes, I'm looking forward to seeing that. So I thought, well, I better watch the first one, because there will be, no doubt, you don't need to totally watch it, but yeah, you know what it's like, completism and all that. And I just, in terms of completism, I finished watching the last stages of Tour de France, because obviously I was away, and I kept away from social media and everything. I kind of knew who was going to win anyway, because it was somebody who was like so far in advance. Pogacar was so far in advance of everybody else, it would have taken him to retire from the race to actually like change it all up, and he didn't. Okay. He maintained his position and managed to avoid crashing, even though in the last section, usually the last race is the Paris one, where they actually they're on the Champs-Élysées and all that. But what they did this year, they mirrored the Paris Olympics when there was a cycling race in the Paris Olympics. They changed it up so that they actually had uphill stages over cobbles and some of the elements. So it made far more interesting. Yeah. Because usually it's a big bunch finish in the Champs-Élysées, and it's like just sprinters. But this way they'd mixed it up, so it could have been anybody that could actually take it. So it worked out really, really well. It was really, really good. And nobody crashed, and it was actually a sprinter that won it, but he did it doing a breakaway, because he did a circuit. I think it was like 3 or 4 times he did the circuit, and it was like that. They were going up, and it was cobbles. But thankfully, it wasn't raining, because a couple of previous days there had been ones. I think there was one in the mountains, and there was another one which had sort of lesser climbs. But the roads had been raining all day, and when they were going around corners, there was guys coming off, and also it was really, it was kind of like really, you're going, oh. Because you would see guys that somebody would crash, and then somebody coming
5 or
behind
6
them.
go
They're traveling,
behind them.
Yeah, they're like traveling at 40-50 kilometers an hour, and they're putting the brakes on, and they're just sliding. They don't stop. These guys, so it can be quite bad. But I think the last couple of stages, they didn't really have like many crashes around, which is quite nice, obviously, because you don't want to see a guy like traveling for like 19 stages, and then like 2 before the very end of the whole race they have to retire because they've broken something or get injured. You think that must be like totally soul destroying. But it makes for a good spectacle. So yes, it was a particularly good tour this year, which is quite nice. So yes, so that's what I've been watching. So I've managed to squeeze in a bit.
That's not too bad.
What about you?
On my side, this was a mistake, because I wanted to watch this film for a long time, but because we've just recently lost our cat, this was an idiot move. I watched Flow, the animated thing about it's kind of like almost like it's like the end of the world or something, and all these animals have to sort of work together to survive, but the cat is like the lead animal. And when I tell you I spent 90 minutes sobbing, I am not exaggerating in the slightest. It was like tears and snotters, like couldn't even watch most of the film because I was just crying. But it was so lovely. Like there was something really charming and endearing about it, and it's quite like old-fashioned kind of animation. It doesn't feel like it almost feels like you're watching something that was animated maybe like in the early 90s or something, because it's not quite perfect. It's not quite flawless. There is sort of rough edges to it, but I really liked it. So I can see why people were obviously raving about it during Oscar season. I probably should have just given myself more time before I watched it. However, they have captured the way a cat moves and reacts, and like it was even making like kind of like wee pigeon sounds, which our cat used to make, and I just like the actual caption of the cat itself was so perfect. Like that's definitely how cats would behave. So yeah, it was really sad, and I shouldn't have watched it, but I did because I'm an idiot. I found Horror Express on BBC iPlayer, so I sat and watched that. It's absolutely rotten. It's not quite a hammer, but it does have Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing in it. But what I believe, having done some reading afterwards, because I couldn't quite work out the dubbing, was it was a Spanish film. So it was made in Spain. A lot of the cast and crew are Spanish. And then it was redubbed over by the actors using obviously their own voices and in English, which is why the mouths feel slightly out of sync a lot of the times. Basically, there's like a prehistoric creature is loaded onto this train, and it comes to life with these really shit laser eyes and starts bumping people off. It's really bad, but it was 90 minutes well spent. I was chuckling away to myself. It's absolutely rotten, but in the best possible way. So that was worth watching. Amazon Prime have uploaded all of Christopher Lee's Draculas. So some of them are paid for, some of them are free, but the only one I hadn't seen out of those was Dracula Has Risen from the Dead. So I watched that. He's so handsome, so brooding. And because I'd watched that Hammer documentary where they were basically telling the actresses, like, don't look like you're in love with him, look terrified, but you can still see all these actresses just swooning when he's coming towards them, because why wouldn't you? So that was good fun as well. For my final girls club, I had suggested that we all watch Possession this month, and again that divided the room, so I watched that. Sam Neill, very, very strange, like in terms of just like the performances are obviously so over the top and so deliberately kind of like uncanny, I guess. And but I did kind of like it. Like the more I thought about it after I watched it at first, I was like, I don't think that was for me. And then I reflected on it and I was like, no, actually, I really appreciated this, or I appreciated the way they did that. I liked the big giant worm or whatever it was supposed to be that was sort of growing out the wall. I thought it was really cool. And so, yeah, it definitely got me thinking. So I did really enjoy that. And you can obviously see, like, for example, in The First Omen, when she has that kind of like fit when she's getting out of the taxi or whatever it is, that's maybe like drawn from the big sort of possession scene in Possession in the subway tunnel. So I did quite enjoy it. I also watched 1922 on Netflix. It's Thomas Jane. It's based on a Stephen King novel about a farmer who is accused of murdering his wife because she wants to move away from the farm into the city and start a new life because the crops are all failing and all that sort of thing. It wasn't quite like outright horror, but there was something just kind of unsettling throughout, and there was lots of rats, which really freaked me out. Like he keeps dreaming that there's rats in various places, so you were hearing like these squeaky sort of scuttly sounds, and he sort of sees his dead wife sort of over and over again. So yeah, that was quite a good rewatch. It was, as I say, it wasn't like out and out scary, but definitely he gives a great performance in it. Actually, I'd watched Mrs. Doubtfire for the At the Movies in the 90s podcast. That was pure joy from start to finish. Robin Williams is just the best in it, and it's funny how you watch it as an adult and you feel really differently than how maybe you watched it as a kid, because he was obviously like the fun dad and how could she be mean to him, and then you're watching it as an adult going, how the fuck were those two married in the first place? Like, she's obviously super serious and super corporate and he's just, dancing on tables. So yeah, that was just great fun to watch. It really brought me back to my childhood.
Brilliant.
As I had said, I'd watched Cabaret. I also watched One Night in Idaho, which is a 4-part true crime on Amazon Prime. Highly recommend, because the guy has actually just been sentenced this week. It was 4 college students in the University of Idaho who they were obviously out at various parties and stuff like that. And then the next morning, they were all found murdered in their beds, seemingly at complete random. And it was a fascinating documentary. And if you get a chance and you watch the documentary, watch the victim impact statements that the family members got to give, because they rip the killer a new one. Like, I've never seen victim impact statements like this in my puff. They absolutely destroy him. It's so good. just to give you a taster, like he was obviously quite intelligent and good at college, and one of the mums got up and says, well, you might have got straight A's at college, but you're headed for big D's in prison. So it's, it was a horrible thing that happened, obviously, but quite a good show. I also watched Untamed, which is on Netflix. That stars Eric Bana and Sam Neill. It's Eric Bana is like a park ranger, I guess you would call it, in Yosemite, and it opens with this like proper heart in your mouth scene. There's these two rock climbers obviously scaling part of a mountain, and a dead body falls down and gets caught in their equipment, and they're obviously struggling to stay on the rock. It's do you know what? It's genuinely a very good show. Like, I was really hooked on it. It's only 6 episodes, and I think because every time I log on to Netflix, it keeps saying it's #1. Like, I don't know if they'll make more of it, but it was definitely a good wee show, very interesting. And to kick things off, I watched the Bonnie Blue documentary on Channel 4 because curiosity got the better of me, but it was really disappointing in the sense that it didn't go into the why of everything, I guess. It almost just felt like free PR for her. And it's funny because obviously at the top of this pod, we were talking about like controversies and how do you keep having to manufacture something because, everyone's kind of used to what you do. So it was like when she first started, her thing was that she did, she had sex with real people and that they were, barely legal, as she kept calling them. So then it became like, well, what can I do that's bigger and better than that? And then it's like, well, once you've had sex with like 1,000 men in 24 hours, what is the next step from that? Because how do you become more controversial than that? And it didn't really answer those questions. It obviously alluded to the fact that she tried to do that petting zoo thing, which was not allowed for obvious safety reasons. And it talked about how she was essentially getting banned off of platforms like OnlyFans because Visa, who their payments go through, had said, hilariously, like OnlyFans obviously is a sex website or an adult website, but Visa have said that her stuff was like too far and they didn't want to process the payments for it. So I felt like it didn't give you a lot of answers. It did, as I say, it felt like free PR for her, but it did get you thinking about like that, this notion of like, what is next? Like, how do you be more controversial than, you've had sex with 1,000 men in 24 hours? And then what are the consequences for like young girls or young boys even watching that and thinking, I need to behave like this, or, should I start an OnlyFans or blah, 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 or maybe people feeling pressured into, doing things on video or whatever. It didn't answer enough questions for me, but it was certainly eye-opening in places because it showed you parts of the 1,000 men situation. And I was like, oh, that's the logistics of 8 people in a room. Okay, thanks for that.
Yeah. It's the whole thing, the 15 minutes of fame thing, isn't it? That you say that, well, it was obviously Andy Warhol coined it, everybody's going to 15 minutes of fame, but what you find is the people who come up with a sort of controversial idea like that, they have their 15 minutes and then they say, actually, I want more. So they try and do more and more. But yeah, like, where do you go from there? There's very little you can do other than some sort of public torture, I think. Yeah.
Which is what the petting zoo idea was. And then obviously they told her, like, are you fucked? I don't know who it was that intervened, but somebody did and was like, you're not doing this. But interestingly, she was, as the sort of documentary comes to an end, I think she was preparing for going on the Andrew Tate podcast, and they were like, oh, would you have sex with him? And she was like, yeah, absolutely would. And it's like, well, that's hilarious because Andrew Tate's whole thing is the higher a woman's body count is, the less value she has. So he wouldn't even see you as a peer in terms of like, a controversial star or whatever. He would see you as less than because you've had sex with all these people. Like, that's why, like, you're courting this like fame or whatever you want to call it, but the person that's interviewing you sees you as nothing essentially, because his whole thing is like women should basically come to him as like virgins essentially. So it's just, it seems like a horrible side of the internet where somebody's going to die at some point from some sort of like weird sex-related injury, and then we'll look back and go, oh, it all stemmed from X. Somebody trying to outdo someone else.
Usually what you find is the people who do have their 15 minutes and go away, they usually come back and it's a journey that they've been on, a journey of discovery and reinvention, and they've centered themselves and everything, all this kind of stuff. And they had a trauma you know, there was a trauma going on in the background and all, which could have been totally legitimate, but they don't mention that at the time. It's only as part of their second phase, if you like, when
it's a bit like what Russell Brand did, essentially, isn't it? When
exactly.
he rebranded himself,
yeah, as Jesus mainly.
It's right wing Jesus.
Aren't all Jesus is right wing?
They are if you live in the States, yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah.